Wasn't that we couldn't ride, but we could have ridden, and we did end up riding a lot better. It changed the lives of a lot of young riders, and it developed some riders that are some of the greatest that have ever sat in a saddle nationally and internationally. And I'm pleased to give the microphone to Karen Healey.
First of all, I am one of the few people in the room that does remember Kathy Kusner riding. And secondly, the good news is this is the last time you're going to have to listen to me up here. But Morgan, where do I start? I'm going to tell a little story on Morgan, and I tell it, Morgan, in the best spirit possible. When Morgan came to me at the end of his 14-year-old year, and his parents, I'd spoken to him a little bit. I'd never actually taught Morgan, but we talked about trying horses at Harrisburg and what their goals were and what they wanted to do. And so I said, well, why don't you come back to Harrisburg and we can sit on some horses. So Morgan arrives back there, and any of you that have never been there, you don't want to go into that schooling area. It is an absolute madhouse. Morgan's eyes were this big. He was so impressed and so nervous, and he's trotting around and he's trying to be still, and he's stiff as a board, and he's shaking, and I looked at Tasha. I said, Tasha, what are you going to do? I said, we can't let him try these horses, jump these horses. I said, they have to show tomorrow. Needless to say, within a year, he was showing his own horse at the National Horse Show in the Junior Hunter Division. He qualified him all by himself, with no help from anybody else. He was second that year in the regional finals. He won the Ronnie Much final, or the Ronnie Much class. Thermal, his accolades go on and on and on. But I always say that the true mettle of a horse and of a rider is not what they do when things go well, it's what do they do when things don't go well. And I think that Morgan is the recipient of both of these awards, both the sportsmanship and the junior achievement, because of his ability, and to that I credit his parents, because nobody could have done that on their own. I mean, his parents are the most incredible people in the world, and they have supported and stood by Tasha and I, and stood by Morgan, and done everything they possibly could. This year he had a bitter disappointment. He was top qualifier for Harrisburg for the Prix de States, and 2 days before we were to get on, the horses were getting on the airplane, I was getting my hair done, they called me and they said, the burrito's limping. What do you mean he's limping? And he's limping. Excuse me. So but he handled it with grace. I mean, it was a bitter disappointment. It's his last year to do that, and he handled it not only with grace, but he was out there with the other kids, cheering them on in the team competition. And again, I mean, you can see in those pictures the smile on his face and the sheer joy that he gets out of this sport. And, he's going to continue to go on in this business. George said last year about him in a clinic, he said, this boy is going to ride big jumpers someday, and I truly believe that he will. He's had early, as Mike said, with scholarship, he has early acceptance at Duke. But I think and believe that he's always going to have horses in his heart and in his life. And again, I thank his parents, and I thank Morgan for the wonderful 3 years. We had a hell of a ride.